I came to her wedding, but my daughter looked me in the eye and said, "You're not invited, leave." What happened next shocked everyone. Just imagine arriving at my daughter's wedding, the same daughter I had sacrificed everything for over 27 years. But when she saw me, her eyes turned cold as winter stone and she said, "You're not invited here, leave immediately." I walked away with a broken heart, but within 3 hours, her perfect fairy tale wedding became a complete disaster. Was it revenge? No, it was simply justice finally being served. The champagne reception was in full swing when I stepped through the ornate doors of Riverside Manor. Crystal chandeliers cast dancing shadows across polished mahogany floors, and the air was thick with the scent of imported peonies and expensive perfume. 200 of Denver's most elite guests mingled in designer gowns and tailored suits, their laughter echoing through the grand ballroom I had secretly funded. My daughter Kassandra stood near the marble staircase, radiant in a $15,000 Vera Wang gown that I had purchased without her knowledge. Her auburn hair was swept into an elaborate updo adorned with vintage pearls, pearls that had belonged to her late grandmother, the woman who raised me to value hard work and integrity above all else. "Kassandra," I called softly, approaching with a carefully wrapped gift in my weathered hands. The conversations around us seemed to pause, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. She turned, and for a brief moment I saw the little girl who used to fall asleep on my chest during bedtime stories. But that warmth vanished instantly, replaced by something I had never seen in her eyes before, pure, calculated coldness. "What are you doing here?" Her voice cut through the elegant chatter like broken glass. The silk of her dress rustled as she stepped back, creating physical distance that felt like an ocean. "Sweetheart, it's your wedding day. I wanted to—" "You wanted to embarrass me in front of everyone who matters." Her voice dropped to a harsh whisper, but every word felt like a dagger. "I made it perfectly clear that this is an exclusive celebration. You don't belong here." The gift box slipped from my fingers, hitting the pristine floor with a hollow thud that seemed to echo through my chest. 27 years of sacrifice, love, and devotion reduced to those 6 words. You don't belong here. Kassandra's new husband, Thornton Blackwell III, materialized beside her like a shadow in his custom-tailored tuxedo. His family owned 3 luxury hotels across Colorado, and his smile carried the practiced arrogance of old money. He placed a possessive hand on Kassandra's waist, his diamond cufflinks catching the light. "Mr. Hartwell," he said, my name dripping from his lips like something distasteful. "I believe there's been a misunderstanding about tonight's guest list." I looked between them, searching Kassandra's face for any trace of the daughter who used to run into my arms after school. "What misunderstanding? Kassandra, I raised you. I've been planning to walk you down the aisle since you were 3 years old." Her laugh was bitter, sharp enough to cut. "That's exactly the problem, Dad. You still think this is about you." She glanced nervously at the guests who had begun to notice our conversation. Women in Chanel suits whispered behind jeweled fingers while men in $1,000 shoes pretended not to eavesdrop. "This is a private family celebration," she continued, her voice growing stronger as she fed off Thornton's approving nod. "Immediate family and distinguished guests only. People who understand refinement." The word hit me like a physical blow. 27 years of working 16-hour days at my electrical contracting business, choosing her needs over my own comfort, sacrificing my social life to ensure she never wanted for anything, all of it reduced to a lack of refinement. "I paid for this wedding, Kassandra," I said quietly, my voice steady despite the chaos in my chest. "Every flower, every plate of food, the dress you're wearing." Thornton's jaw tightened visibly. "Money doesn't buy class, sir. And frankly, your presence here is making our guests uncomfortable." The ballroom had grown quiet around us. A photographer lowered his camera. The string quartet continued playing, oblivious to the drama unfolding in their elegant backdrop. I could feel 200 pairs of eyes watching my humiliation unfold. Kassandra couldn't meet my gaze. "Please, Dad, don't make this harder than it needs to be. Just go." I nodded slowly, memorizing her face one last time. "You're absolutely right, sweetheart. I don't belong here. The Colorado evening air hit my lungs like freedom as I stepped out of Riverside Manor. The parking lot stretched before me, filled with luxury vehicles I'd never dream of owning. Mercedes, BMWs, and Teslas that cost more than most people made in a year. My weathered Ford pickup sat alone in the far corner, exactly where someone like me belonged in their world. My hands remained steady as I reached for my phone, despite the earthquake happening in my chest. 27 years of building Hartwell Electric from nothing had taught me that emotion was a luxury I couldn't afford when business needed to be handled, and make no mistake, this was now business. I scrolled through my contacts, each name representing a different phase of Kassandra's privileged life. The dance studio where she'd taken 12 years of ballet, the private tennis coach, the SAT tutor who'd helped her score high enough for Stanford, the study abroad program coordinator who'd arranged her semester in Prague. Every contact represented a choice I'd made. Her happiness over my retirement savings, her dreams over my own comfort. I'd driven a 15-year-old truck so she could have a BMW at 16. I'd lived in a modest apartment so her college dorm room could be in the premium residence hall. The irony wasn't lost on me. The sacrifices that had made her refined enough for Thornton's world were exactly what made me too common to witness their union. My thumb hovered over the first number, Rocky Mountain Bank Business Services. Inside that ballroom, Kassandra was probably accepting congratulations, basking in the admiration of guests who had no idea that every detail of their elegant evening had been funded by the unrefined electrician she'd just dismissed. The phone rang once before a professional voice answered. Rocky Mountain Bank Business Services, this is Diana. How may I assist you? Diana, this is Richard Hartwell, account number 4821359. I need to initiate stop payments on several authorized transactions, effective immediately. Of course, Mr. Hartwell. Let me verify your account details first. Through the manor's tall windows, I could see the reception continuing, crystal glasses raised in toasts, elegant figures moving across the dance floor I'd paid to rent. All of it about to change. Thank you for holding. Which transactions specifically need to be stopped? I took one last look at the celebration that was about to become a very expensive lesson. All wedding-related payments from today, every single one. Kassandra was barely 4 when her mother, Elena, died in that terrible car accident on Interstate 25. One moment I had a wife and a complete family, the next I was a single father staring at a little girl who kept asking when mommy was coming home. I could have remarried quickly. Lord knows there were women who would have helped raise her. But something in Kassandra's green eyes, Elena's eyes, convinced me that she needed her father to be everything: protector, provider, cheerleader, and constant presence. Daddy, will you read me another story? She'd ask at age 6, curled up in her princess pajamas. I'd already read 4 books, had a 5 a.m. job site meeting the next morning, but those trusting eyes never let me say no. That became my philosophy. Richard Hartwell never says no to his daughter. Private school at Riverside Prep consumed 40% of my quarterly profits, but education was an investment in her future. When she made honor roll, she'd run to me with her report card, beaming. Look, Daddy, I made you proud again. High school brought new expenses, dance lessons, tennis camps, a sweet 16 party that cost more than my first car. But Kassandra was mixing with the children of Denver's elite, and I wanted her to fit in seamlessly. All the other girls are going to Aspen for spring break, Daddy. I'd be the only one left out. The disappointment in her voice always crushed me. Another check written, another quarterly profit redirected from business expansion to her happiness. Stanford University nearly broke me financially, but seeing her graduate summa cum laude made every sacrifice worthwhile. The graduation party, the designer dresses for sorority events, the summer internships in Europe. Each expense felt like an investment in her bright future. Then she met Thornton during her MBA program. Old money, family connections, everything my blue-collar success couldn't provide despite decades of hard work. Kassandra started making subtle comments about my appearance at family gatherings. Maybe you could wear something other than those work boots when you visit. Thornton's parents will be there, and they're very traditional. Last Christmas, she'd introduced me to the Blackwells as my father, who owns a small electrical company. 27 years of building a business that employed 43 people, reduced to small electrical company. The wedding planning felt like a business negotiation. Kassandra brought spreadsheets and Pinterest boards. Thornton offered cost efficiency suggestions as if my life's savings existed solely to fund their social debut. Neither acknowledged that every line item represented months of my labor. Diana's keyboard clicked efficiently as she processed my request. Mr. Hartwell, I show several large transactions from today. Are you certain about stopping all wedding-related payments? Completely certain. There's been a change in circumstances. I'll need authorization codes for transactions over $10,000. I recited the numbers from memory. 27 years of running an electrical contracting business had taught me to remember every important detail, every contract specification, every payment authorization. The amounts were staggering when listed together: venue rental, catering deposits, floral arrangements, photography services, band fees. Stop payments are now in effect, Mr. Hartwell. Confirmation numbers are being generated. The next call went to Elegant Occasions Catering, the premier service Kassandra had insisted upon despite their astronomical fees. Elegant Occasions, this is Beatrice speaking. Beatrice, this is Richard Hartwell calling about the Blackwell-Hartwell wedding reception at Riverside Manor. Oh yes, Mr. Hartwell. The salmon course was just served and the guests are raving about the presentation. I'm afraid there's been a financial complication. Payment authorization has been revoked by the bank. You'll want to secure your equipment and remaining food inventory. Silence, then. I'm sorry, what exactly are you saying? The bank has stopped payment on our contract, effective immediately. I suggest you protect your assets before the situation escalates. Beatrice disconnected without another word. Smart woman. The florist answered on the second ring. Denver Botanics, this is Celeste. Celeste, this is Richard Hartwell regarding the Blackwell-Hartwell wedding flowers at Riverside Manor. Mr. Hartwell, the peony arrangements are absolutely stunning. The bride was so pleased with the centerpieces. There's been a payment issue. Bank authorization has been canceled. You'll need to collect your arrangements if you want to recover any value. Collect them, but they're integrated into the entire venue design. Business is business, Celeste. I'd move quickly if I were you. 4 more calls followed the same pattern: photography services, the string quartet, linen rentals, even the luxury transportation company. Each conversation began with compliments about their excellent service and ended with urgent disconnections as vendors scrambled to protect themselves. My phone showed 7:45 p.m. when the final call ended. Through the manor's windows, I could see guests still dancing, completely unaware that their elegant evening was about to become a very expensive education in consequences. I didn't drive away immediately. Instead, I parked across the street where I had a clear view of Riverside Manor's entrance. Call it morbid curiosity, or perhaps the satisfaction of watching justice unfold in real time. The first truck arrived at 8:10 p.m. Denver Botanics painted in elegant script across pristine white paneling. Celeste emerged with 2 assistants, all carrying empty containers and wearing expressions of grim determination. They entered through the service entrance with the efficiency of people protecting their livelihood. Through the grand ballroom windows, the reception appeared to be reaching its peak. Kassandra and Thornton moved gracefully across the dance floor, her Vera Wang dress flowing like liquid silk. Guests formed an admiring circle around the newlyweds, champagne glasses reflecting the chandelier light like stars. Neither bride nor groom noticed the florist team entering through side doors. Celeste appeared in the ballroom doorway, containers in hand. She walked directly toward the main altar arrangement, a magnificent display of white peonies and baby's breath that had cost $3,200. Her assistants flanked the smaller centerpieces, working with practiced speed. The first guests began turning, confusion replacing celebration as the team started dismantling the floral displays. Excuse me, Kassandra approached Celeste with the practiced grace of someone accustomed to managing service staff. We're in the middle of our reception. Whatever you need can wait until tomorrow. Celeste straightened, holding a bundle of peonies. Ma'am, I'm from Denver Botanics. Payment authorization for these arrangements was canceled 45 minutes ago. I need to recover our property. Kassandra's perfect smile flickered but held. That's impossible. Everything was paid for weeks ago. The account holder, Richard Hartwell, contacted us directly. All payments have been stopped. Celeste continued removing flowers with professional detachment. I have written authorization to collect our merchandise. Color drained from Kassandra's face like water from a broken vase. Around them, conversations died entirely. The string quartet continued playing, but their elegant music now sounded hollow against the growing tension. Thornton crossed the room in quick strides, his expression shifting from confusion to indignation. What exactly is happening here? Payment issues, sir. We're collecting unpaid inventory. Celeste's assistant began wrapping the altar arrangement in protective plastic. This is completely unacceptable. Thornton's voice carried the authority of someone unaccustomed to being questioned. Get your manager on the phone immediately. I am the manager, and our contract clearly states that canceled payments void our service obligations. Beatrice emerged from the catering truck with 3 staff members, their faces set with purpose. They entered through the main doors this time, making no attempt at discretion. The white-jacketed servers moved efficiently through the crowd, beginning to cover serving stations with protective cloths. Kassandra watched the peonies disappear into containers, her composure cracking like fine porcelain. There has to be some mistake. My father wouldn't. He couldn't. Ma'am, we need to cease food service immediately, Beatrice approached with clipboard in hand. Payment authorization was revoked at 8:15. We're contractually obligated to protect our equipment and remaining inventory. Thornton stepped between Beatrice and Kassandra, his voice rising above the murmuring crowd. This is my wedding reception. You cannot stop service in the middle of an event. Sir, we can and we must. When payment authorization gets canceled, standard procedure requires immediate asset protection. Beatrice signaled her team, who began removing chafing dishes and serving utensils with practiced efficiency. The elegant atmosphere dissolved like sugar in rain. Guests shuffled nervously, their champagne glasses forgotten in their hands. The Denver elite weren't accustomed to witnessing such unrefined situations. Someone's phone buzzed sharply in the tense silence. Then another. Word was already spreading through Denver's social media networks. The string quartet stopped mid-song when their coordinator arrived to collect equipment. Microphones went silent. Even the ambient lighting shifted as the sound technician disconnected his mixing board. Kassandra stood frozen in the center of her collapsing reception, still radiant in her $15,000 gown amid the chaos of disappearing services. This can't be happening. Not today. Not like this. Kassandra, what kind of financial arrangements did your family make? Thornton's voice carried new suspicion, his anger redirecting from vendors toward his bride. The Blackwell family had built their reputation on stability and proper planning. I don't know, she whispered, her voice cracking with the first hint of genuine panic. Everything was supposed to be handled. The venue coordinator appeared, phone pressed against her ear, speaking in urgent whispers. She approached the couple with obvious reluctance, her professional smile strained to the breaking point. Mrs. Blackwell, I've just spoken with our accounting department. All payments for today's event originated from a single account belonging to Richard Hartwell. That account holder has revoked authorization for every transaction. The words hung in the air like smoke from an explosion. Kassandra's carefully constructed world, built on 27 years of her father's sacrifice, was crumbling in real time before 200 witnesses. She fumbled for her phone with trembling fingers, scrolling to a contact she hadn't called in months, except to request money. I watched Kassandra's silhouette in the manor doorway, phone pressed desperately to her ear. The elegant reception had transformed into something resembling a crime scene. Vendors removing evidence, guests whispering in shocked clusters, the bride standing alone in her expensive dress like a monument to entitlement. My phone buzzed insistently with her name. I didn't answer, not yet. 27 years of loving that woman had led to this moment. 27 years of believing that unconditional support would build character instead of destroying it. She'd been 3 when Elena died, barely old enough to understand that Mommy wasn't coming home from the hospital. The calls continued every few minutes. By 9:30, she'd left 6 voicemails, each one more frantic than the last. Voicemail 1. Dad, something's wrong with the payments. There's been a bank error. Call me back immediately. Voicemail 2. This isn't funny anymore. The vendors are taking everything. People are staring. Just fix this. Voicemail 3. Please, Dad, I don't understand what's happening. Thornton's family is asking questions I can't answer. Voicemail 4, her voice breaking. I need you. Please pick up. Please. By voicemail 5, the desperation was complete. Dad, I'm sorry about earlier. I was stressed, wedding nerves, but I need you to call these vendors and authorize the payments so we can save what's left. Voicemail 6 was just sobbing. The phone rang again at 9:45. This time I answered on the 5th ring. Hello, Kassandra. Dad, finally. What have you done? How could you destroy my wedding? Her voice carried pure panic now, none of the controlled dismissal from earlier in the evening. Good. Panic meant awareness, and awareness was the first step toward understanding. I didn't destroy anything, I said, keeping my voice level. I simply stopped paying for things. You can't just stop. This is my wedding day. There are 200 people here asking why the flowers disappeared and why dinner service ended. Where are you calling from? The hotel. We had to leave. The venue coordinator said we needed to settle the outstanding bills before we could stay for the evening reception. So they'd been asked to leave their own wedding. The irony was perfect. Kassandra, I need you to answer a question honestly. When was the last time you thanked me for anything? What? Dad, this isn't the time for... Answer the question. When was the last time you expressed genuine gratitude for my financial support? The silence stretched between us. In the background, I could hear Thornton's voice, sharp with frustration and growing suspicion. The attack began Monday morning. My secretary, Janet, knocked on my office door at 8:30 a.m., holding a printed email with obvious concern written across her weathered face. Mr. Hartwell, I received this inquiry from Denver Business Weekly. They're asking about family disputes affecting your company's operations. I scanned the email twice. Professional language masking pointed questions about my mental stability and treatment of family members. Someone had been making strategic calls. Any idea how they got wind of this? Janet handed me her tablet, showing a Facebook post with over 400 shares. Kassandra's wedding photo, radiant and beautiful in her Vera Wang gown, followed by emotional text describing a vindictive father who had destroyed her special day and was now making impossible financial demands as punishment. The post painted me as an unstable man seeking revenge against his daughter for imagined slights. Hundreds of comments expressed shock and sympathy. Several tagged local business owners I'd worked with for decades, questioning whether Richard Hartwell was someone they wanted to do business with. My phone rang within minutes. Tom Rodriguez from Rodriguez Plumbing, a 15-year business partner. Richard, I'm seeing some concerning things online. People are saying you had some kind of breakdown at your daughter's wedding. Are you all right? Tom, there's documentation that tells a very different story. I hope so, because some contractors are asking questions about your reliability on upcoming projects. You know how rumors spread in this business. 5 more calls followed within 2 hours, all expressing concern, all asking careful questions about my mental state and business decisions. Kassandra and Thornton had been busy over the weekend. The Blackwell family's social connections reached deep into Denver's business community. Country clubs, charity boards, professional organizations where reputation was currency. They were using those connections to spread Kassandra's narrative of victimhood. Local Facebook groups buzzed with second-hand versions of the story. Electrical contractor demands payment from daughter after ruining her wedding. Denver businessman sues his own child for wedding expenses. Each retelling grew more dramatic, more damaging. By noon, I'd received 9 business-related calls expressing concern. The Denver Chamber of Commerce president wondered about my state of mind regarding upcoming community projects. 4 separate contractors mentioned hearing troubling things that might affect our working relationships. Kassandra and Thornton had chosen their battlefield carefully. In a city like Denver, reputation was everything. Destroy someone's standing in the business community, and you destroyed their livelihood. They'd miscalculated one crucial factor. I had documentation for everything. Tuesday morning arrived with the precision of a construction schedule. At exactly 9 a.m., I published 27 years of financial documentation across every platform Kassandra and Thornton had contaminated with their lies. The presentation was methodical, professional, undeniable. Bank statements showing $847,000 in payments over 27 years. Categorized spreadsheets breaking down education costs, housing support, transportation expenses, and lifestyle funding. Photographs of Kassandra at every stage of her privileged life, each image matched to corresponding financial support. Complete transparency, 27 years of parental support documented, read the headline I'd chosen. Below it, a comprehensive timeline showing Kassandra's progression from grateful child to entitled adult with every dollar spent documented and verified. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within an hour, my phone started ringing with different voices entirely, not concerned questions this time, but support and vindication. "Richard, I had no idea about the scope of support you provided," said Carlos Martinez from Martinez Electric Supply. "My daughter's in college and I'm spending maybe $20,000 a year total. You spent that much every semester." Tom Rodriguez called back with an apology. "After seeing those bank records, I understand exactly what you're dealing with. That level of entitlement would break any parent." The social media momentum shifted like an avalanche in reverse. Comments that had supported Kassandra's victim narrative suddenly looked naive against the backdrop of financial reality. Screenshots of bank statements showing $52,000 annual Stanford tuition payments, receipts for 3 different luxury cars, 27 years of expenses that most families would consider impossible to afford. My attorney, Margaret Collins, called at 11 a.m. "Richard, the response has been extraordinary. Denver Business Weekly wants to run a feature story about financial responsibility and entitlement. You've managed to turn a reputation attack into a community education moment." By noon, Kassandra's original Facebook post looked pathetic against the mountain of evidence I'd provided. People were sharing my documentation with comments like, "This is what real parental sacrifice looks like," and "No wonder he's seeking accountability. This level of support should come with gratitude." The Denver construction community rallied completely. Contractors who'd questioned my stability were now sharing stories about my work ethic and integrity. The Chamber of Commerce president issued a public statement supporting my position and praising my transparency. Even the mayor's office released a comment about the importance of financial responsibility in family relationships. Local news stations picked up the story as a feature about parental sacrifice and accountability. The documented evidence made their job easy. They simply presented the facts and let viewers draw their own conclusions. Kassandra's attack had backfired spectacularly. Her portrayal of victimhood couldn't survive contact with 27 years of documented financial reality. By Wednesday morning, Kassandra's world had completely collapsed. The Blackwell family's reputation for careful social planning was being used against them now. Their network was questioning exactly what kind of people they'd welcomed into their circle. Thornton's phone rang at 7:15 a.m. I knew because Kassandra called me 20 minutes later, sobbing. "Dad, Thornton's father wants to meet with him about protecting the family assets. They're talking about annulment procedures." Her voice cracked completely. "His mother said I misrepresented our financial situation before marriage." The Blackwells had apparently moved quickly to distance themselves from the scandal. Thornton's trust fund had strict clauses about maintaining family reputation and avoiding financial liability. A wife with nearly $1 million in undisclosed debt didn't meet those requirements. "Dad, I've been trying to reach friends and family. Nobody will help. Aunt Patricia says I need to learn responsibility." What does that even mean? My college roommates are shocked by the amounts. My sorority sisters won't take my calls. The Denver social circle that had celebrated her elegant wedding was now sharing screenshots of my financial documentation. The same people who'd enjoyed her generous parties, funded entirely by my sacrifice, were suddenly unavailable when she needed financial assistance. Thursday brought worse news. "Thornton's moving out of our apartment," she whispered into the phone. "His parents are paying for his hotel until the annulment goes through. They hired a lawyer to make sure none of their family assets get involved in your debt collection." By Friday, the pattern was complete. Kassandra's support network had evaporated under the weight of $847,000 in documented dependency. Every relationship built on my financial foundation crumbled when that foundation was removed. Dad, I don't have money for rent. The credit cards are maxed. I've applied for jobs, but nobody's hiring someone with no real work experience. I'm 28 years old and I don't know how to support myself. The education was nearly complete. For the first time in her adult life, Kassandra was facing the world without a financial safety net she'd never bothered to acknowledge. I need help, she whispered during our final call of the week. Not money. I understand that's over. But I need to know how to live like a normal person. I never learned because I never had to. Saturday morning brought a knock on my door. Kassandra stood on my porch in jeans and a simple sweater, no designer clothes, no expensive accessories. Her face was puffy from crying, but her eyes held something I hadn't seen in years, humility and maybe finally the beginning of wisdom. Dad, she said quietly, I came to apologize and to ask if you'll teach me how to earn your respect back. I looked at my daughter standing on my porch, truly looked at her for the first time in years. Without the designer clothes and entitled attitude, I could see traces of the little girl who used to help me sort electrical supplies in my workshop, the girl who'd once thanked me for bedtime stories and told me I was the best daddy in the world. Come in, Kassandra. We sat at my kitchen table, the same one where she'd done homework while I prepared for the next day's job sites. The silence stretched between us, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It felt like the first honest moment we'd shared in years. I've been thinking about what you asked on the phone, she began, her voice small but steady. About the last time I thanked you. I can't remember, Dad. Not once in the past 10 years. Maybe longer. I nodded, waiting. I saw the documentation you published. Every payment, every sacrifice. $847,000 over 27 years. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. I never asked where the money came from. I just expected it to be there. Tell me what you've learned this week. That nobody respects someone who's never earned anything. That friendships built on expensive parties disappear when the parties stop. That I don't know how to do basic things like budget money or apply for real jobs because I never had to learn. She looked up at me with Elena's green eyes, but now they held awareness instead of entitlement. I learned that the father I dismissed as unrefined built something remarkable from nothing, and I threw it back in his face. What do you want now? A chance to become someone worth respecting. I want to learn how to work, how to support myself, how to be grateful instead of entitled. I want to earn the right to call myself your daughter again. I reached across the table and took her hands, calloused now from a week of job searching and apartment hunting. Kassandra, I never stopped loving you, but love without respect isn't enough to build a relationship on. I know, I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for a chance to earn it. Over the next hour, we talked about practical things, job applications, budgeting, living within her means. But more importantly, we talked about respect, gratitude, and what it meant to contribute rather than just consume. There's a receptionist position at Rodriguez Plumbing, I said finally. Tom mentioned they need someone reliable. The pay isn't much, but it's honest work. I'll take it. No more credit cards, no financial help from me. You succeed or fail based on your own efforts. I understand. As she prepared to leave, Kassandra turned back. Dad, thank you for everything. The 27 years of support, this conversation, the chance to start over. I know saying it now doesn't make up for all the times I should have said it before, but thank you. It wasn't redemption yet. That would take years to earn. But it was a beginning. And sometimes a beginning is enough. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. Click the video on the left to hear another inspiring tale about family, respect, and second chances. Thank you for watching.